Hello guys, and welcome back to the Stacey West YouTube channel. I am Ben, and I am joined by Carlo from Reds Report. How on earth are you doing, mate? Are you well?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Looking forward to Saturday. Hope you are as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously, you know, it's we just had a brief chat off air, and we've said that we're two of the form teams in the division at the moment. Obviously, Barnsley looking to take advantage of the game in hand that you've got. Obviously, that isn't the game on Saturday, but you know you've still got that in hand at the minute to squeak into the top two. And I think we may have said goodbye to our playoff ambitions at this point. Obviously, you know, I think we've had some news today as we record that that Conor McGrandles is out for the season as well now, so we're looking a bit light in midfield. So unfortunately, I think it looks probably safe enough to say that we will be in League One next season. But it's fair to say you lot are harbouring bigger ambitions than that, aren't you? I mean, how are you seeing the running starting to happen, and do you think you can just squeeze into that top two?
I think it's possible. I think it's not even like we've suddenly hit form. We've lost one away match all season, and that was against Derby, and that's Derby at home is difficult anyway. Last home match we lost, and I'm thinking end of January, maybe early February, which I think was Exeter. But besides that, we're 10 unbeaten at the moment. It is still possible. I think Bolton have had a couple of patches where they've lost a couple of matches, and I think you don't want to rely on that, do you? We had Derby at Oakwell a couple of weeks ago, and obviously we beat them, so that brings that distance a bit closer. I think this year it's just tighter than last year. You know, everybody thought Wednesday was going to go automatic. They had a 20-match unbeaten run or whatever. Plymouth sort of ran away with it. Ipswich doing what Ipswich do. So this year, it just feels like really since, well, probably the close of the transfer window, that every game, when it is so close, every game is like a cup final, isn't it? Like Tuesday night, you have Bolton, ideal opportunity, isn't it, to go even closer. Ended up being a draw, well-deserved draw, because we sort of threw it away a little bit. And then everybody's gutted. Until you go home, look at the table, and think, well, nothing's changed, has it really? We've played an extra match, but there's no bigger gap or smaller gap. So it is still possible. I think our away form has been immense and a big factor in all this. But at home, we are becoming a little bit more solid. And for the first time in quite a few seasons, we're able to come from behind. Because if, and I don't, want to advertise betting, but in most matches Barnsley play, both teams will score. Because it just is, we don't have many clean sheets, but we can go behind and then still win. We went to a couple of weeks ago. Was it Fleetwood? Wickham. We are away behind twice, and we won 4-2. So I think what Neil Collins has done is installed a bit more Yorkshire grit and tenacity, and play till the 96th, 97th, or even the 98th minute, and that never say die attitude. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, you mentioned cup finals. I just had to check the fixture list to make sure that you played Peterborough twice, because we got accused of celebrating a draw like we'd won a cup final the other week, which was, I mean, we didn't. The players just walked around the pitch and clapped the fans, but apparently that's a cup final. But look, no, I mean, you've mentioned your form. I can see, there's a lot of green in the column for results. There's a few losses here and there, but I mean, you've only lost twice in the league since November. So that's a pretty impressive record.
Yeah.
But there do appear to be a few more draws creeping in. Well, starting to eradicate them now, but there were quite a few draws peppered in there. So has anything particularly changed that's meant that you've been a bit more clinical, or is it just kind of, maybe confidence running through the squad and you're thinking we can do this? Because I mean, you say you think you probably could make that top two, but if you look at the table, it's kind of in your hands at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of things. Luke O'Connell is a really important player for us. Sits in front of the back three. He had a long spell of illness early on in the year, so we really missed him. Not only was the replacement for him, and I don't want to knock any players, but just not at the same level. not that quality. The thing is with Connell, he makes Herbie Kane play a lot better. So Herbie
Right.
Kane was probably playing 80%, still a class player, but you just knew he could do more. But he didn't get that service from the midfield, and they think alike. They make each other better. So when Connell came back in, it's funny that, well, not funny, it's telling that Kane started doing better, but also Adam Phillips in February. Was it in February, if I get it right? Or was it? No, I think it was February, where I think he scored 4 goals in 2 months. He scored two the whole season prior to. Now, if you remember last season, Phillips loved the goal from outside the area. He was always sort of like driving him in. Didn't really do that. And in an interview, he said that the red card at Wembley against that massive team from Sheffield, you know, probably had more impact than he thought. And as a fan, you sort of think, I get that, but he won in May. Like, you know, we're in November now. Time has gone on. But I suppose as a player, that you know, it could. And he seems to have got rid of that. So the midfield is contributing with goals. And that's why I think we've now just a little bit more solid, a little bit more grit, a little bit more fight. Plus, if you look at the stats, you look at the Van Cole, 17 goals. That comes in patches. If you look at when he scores, he goes, you know, 4 or 5 matches, he'll score 4 in 4, 5 in 5, 6 in 5, whatever. And then he'll go 4 or 5 matches without. And it's telling that the longest he's gone without is like 5 matches. It's 6 now. So we thought he was due to score on Tuesday, but didn't. So who knows on Saturday? But as a team, there's a couple of key players that make others better. I think the Van Cole up front allows McAtee a certain freedom to almost roam around and make a real nuisance of himself, and Cole will drop a little bit deeper and pick the ball up. Like I said, Connell makes Herbie Kane absolutely tick. And compared to last year, you know, it's a whole new back three. 2 of the back three that will start on Saturday only joined us in January. And obviously a new keeper as well. So when Neil Collins came in, he had a bit of a job. He now knows his best 11. We now think we know what his best 11 is, because they're the ones that he keeps starting with. And I am an old-fashioned football fan. I think if you found your best 11, you need to play him. And I think it took a long time to find him, but yeah, he's got him. So that's, you know, it's a difficult match. We talked about form earlier. It's not easy. You know, Lincoln, and it's not an easy match. And that's to you before. I think the occasion, it's whoever dealt with the occasion better on Tuesday when we hosted Bolton, and we know how that ended up. I think form is far more important when you face Lincoln, because, like we said, last 6 matches we've mirrored results. When we drew, you drew. When we won, you won. In the last 10, I think, if I'm right, we've got 21 points and you've got 20. So there's very little to choose between these two sides, no matter where you are in the table.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's this run of form has probably taken us a little bit by surprise. I think when we were looking towards the game back in November at Sincil Bank, you know, we were looking at not having any strikers. You know, we were so depleted through injury for so long. And then we've suddenly had this vein of form when we've been able to have attackers coming in. So now, as you know, as I mentioned, it looks like we're a little bit lacking in the midfield area. But you know, I mean, you've mentioned Devante Cole there. Obviously, we kept him quiet at the Bank in November. He didn't score on the day, but like you mentioned, he's got 17 goals for the season already, which is slightly mental. And then you've mentioned Herbie Kane as well. I think he's your next top scorer with 8. But looking down the list of players, there are goals kind of from all over the pitch, and that's something that we're pretty good at as well this season. So is it, while obviously, you know, a 17 goal season and 17 goals by March striker is something to be lauded, is it kind of more of a team effort and pitching in and going, wait a minute, yeah, we've got goals from everywhere here?
Yeah, I think it's dangerous to rely. We got quite a few strikers at the beginning of the season. So Cole, obviously a regular starter. McAtee on loan for the season from Luton, does really well. Wasn't really getting the figures, but was often involved in assisting or breaking up the play to allow us to score a goal. Max Watters from Cardiff was on loan last season. Then we brought him in on a permanent, not really done much, and is below McAtee in the pecking order. We bought Sam Cosgrove. Love him as a player, big lump of a forward, proper old-fashioned forward. Red card waiting to happen,
Right.
which
Okay.
which is again sort of worrying. So there's been McAtee's is probably the strike partner for Cole, but the midfield are chipping in with goals, and Collins like us to stretch the play and use the two wingers, Cadden on one side, and for now Williams on the other side. Because we were so short in defence, Williams has been playing as a central defender up to and including the end of January. So it never really happened. And I think now that again he's got his best 11, and those 11 are in their preferred positions, people found a little bit more freedom, and that's why people are now chipping in with goals over his assist. Jordan Williams had 2 assists, I believe, for the goals on Tuesday and Saturday. So yeah, and I think, and that's the same for Lincoln. If you're winning or you're not losing for so long, it gives you more confidence to go
Yeah.
forward, to try that ball, to go past that other player, because confidence is this is big. That's why two confident teams facing each other, bound to be 0-0, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like we said this on Saturday against Stevenage. We said, look, either one team's going to spank the other one, or it's just going to be a stalemate. And then, unfortunately for us, it came out as a stalemate. But I mean, obviously, I've mentioned the game at the Bank in November. Has much changed since then from a Barnsley perspective? I mean, I'm looking at things. It looks like you're still playing the same formation. You're still playing pretty much the same system. Um, but has anybody that came in January cemented a place?
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
yeah,
Liam Roberts in goal will always be number one, although on loan from Middlesbrough, but he's been amazing. The back three, barring any injuries, Mailder Givnier, we brought him in the summer, French defender, he'll start. Josh Earl, who we brought in from Fleetwood in January, he'll play on the left. And Donovan Pines, both from, it's not the MLS. I always forget the word. So it's not the MLS. It's the one below. But it's not really below. It's a whole different competition for teams that are not good enough to go into the MLS.
right.
We brought him in January. We had to wait for the visa and everything. A towering central defender. He scored. He started playing regular about 2 weeks ago. Scored 2 goals. He scored against Bolton on Tuesday. So the back three compared to last time we played, there were 2 new players. Pines will be in the centre. Earl will be on the left. Earl, I have to applaud because he came in for Fleetwood, and it's like he's played with us for months and months and months. You know when you get a player and it just slots in, it just happens. Pines, first half when he played was a little bit iffy, but then he started doing the simple things right. Rather than try and go past the man, if you get it outside of Oakwell, you get a round of applause as well. And I think he quickly found that actually, I don't need to make it really complicated if you do the simple things well. And that's what he started doing. So I think in defence, more than anything, you'll see a different side. Yes, Devante Cole will be up front. Connell and Kane make the midfield tick. Hopefully, that will sometimes, if they got hold of the midfield, that will allow Adam Phillips to push forward a little bit and get in on the action. But otherwise, no, it's probably pretty much as November revisited.
Fair enough. Well, look, I mean, I think there's a lot of Lincoln fans that would be satisfied if it was November revisited in terms of the scoreline. Particularly, like I said, we're a little bit depleted at the moment, and I don't know. There's still a glimmer. There's still a very small glimmer that we could, crash the party in the top 6 if everything else goes wrong. But
And
yeah,
confidence does strange things, because sometimes when you are maybe a key player down, it gives other people just that little bit of the 2-3% extra, and
yeah,
the key will always be, and it's not like it's not a secret. If you allow Barnsley to play their game, it becomes really, really difficult. And I think that's what happened against Bolton. They were a bit not overawed on the occasion because they're used to playing in front of fans. Of course they are. But Barnsley took the game by the scruff, 2-0 up. And Bolton then sort of got a confidence, well, we either lose 3-0 or we're going to make it, And Barnsley sat back far too much. So if you don't allow Barnsley, the thing is inside Oakwell, which if you've been before, if we go a goal down, whilst we have the capacity to come back, the fans start getting a bit jittery. And, a pass or a keeper clearance that slices and becomes a corner, or a throw in that goes straight to the opposition, or a missed header, and Oakwell goes a little bit quiet, and that's when opposition teams have grabbed the chances, especially early on in the season. So it is a funny old game. You can't forecast it because it's so level in terms of form and results. And I think too many fans look at the table thinking they're 10th, we're 4th, going to win, aren't we?
Yeah.
If football worked like that, it wouldn't be very interesting, would it? It wouldn't be my game. So,
Arsenal win the Premier League every season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you've still got that chance, because Bolton have gone through a bit of a purple patch of losing 2 on the trot. Blackpool are either beating everybody or they're losing, and there's quite a few teams that are not really. I suppose I'm lucky that for Barnsley we've had a pretty steady season. Early on was a bit iffy, especially at home. We seem to have steadied that ship and grinding out results. I dare say grinding out a 2-2, although we were 2-0 up, a 2-2 draw with Bolton. At least we didn't drop any points. That unbeaten run, that continues, and I think the mentality is then really important at the business end of the season, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think that's the mindset that we had a conversation. Well, we didn't, sorry, but there was the conversation with Ted Bishop after a 0-0 draw recently, and he said, don't worry about it. I think Michael Scabala was saying afterwards that he had a chat with Teddy and said, look, Ted came up to him and said, I know you're gutted, but if you can't win them, you don't lose them, and that's kind of the mentality that when you're also winning games alongside that, it, like you say, it breeds that confidence, and hopefully, it'll pay dividends for both of the teams. But there's a couple of questions that I do like to ask people before we start to wrap up. So, first one: have you been keeping your eye on any? Well, have you seen anything from the Imps or any players that have caught your eye this season so far?
And this is going to sound. No, I haven't been to Oakwell. I had a spinal operation in December, so actually, it's my first game back on Saturday.
Oh wow!
I didn't go on Tuesday either. I had a trapped nerve, and the recovery was really slow, and something went wrong. So I've only just gone back to work this week. So I'm hoping, given the good results that they've had, that I'm not going to spoil the party turning up at Oakwell. And I just remember and I know it's a while back. For me, Lincoln will always be when the Cowley brothers took hold. And can I say catapulted? Because it felt like
absolutely.
Everybody started talking about Lincoln. There's 2 teams that I've considered at the start of our season when we did our forecast. Exeter and Lincoln, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but they always seem teams that they don't fear anybody, and that's how we call. This is as a Barnsley fan. Whenever I've seen us play, they don't. You could play Manchester City and you'd give it a damn good. You know what I mean? So. That's just a personal thing. So it's one I look forward to because I'm going back to the holy grail of South Yorkshire football, but also because anything can happen, and literally anything can happen. Yeah,
fair enough. Is there anything in and around Oakwell that visiting fans can get up to, or anything you recommend?
Yeah, for as far as I know, visiting fans, and it will because it's Saturday. About a 10-minute walk from the ground is a workingmen's club. It's got a decent-sized car park as well. It's on Doncaster Road called the East Dean Workingmen's Club. They've got a really large function room that fits about 200-300 people. That's always allocated to away fans. Okay. The East Dean Workingmen's Club, and I'm not affiliated with it. Other pubs are available. It's very much like a family atmosphere. So it's if anybody is taking younger kids or whatever to the match on Saturday at the East Dean, you can't go wrong because fans always mix. Well, not when we play, Wednesday or whatever, but on a Saturday, it's and you'll see, because as you then walk down to the ground, you'll see both colours, fans walking side by side, talking about the match. There is no animosity as such, is there, between sort of like Lincoln and Barnsley, but no. Decent footballing side. So yeah, I would say if you fancy, a decent bite for a decent price, what is it? That it's completely downhill as well to the ground. Now, if you were to lose, the uphill climb might be a little bit harder, but you could always call in for another pint, couldn't you? But yeah, it's the East Dean Workingmen's Club. It's on Doncaster Road, and it's literally between a 5 and 10 minute walk to Oakwell. So that's what I would recommend if you're gonna go there, because like I say, it's within walking distance, safe for families, fans, and what no better way, I think, for an away fan to sort of start the day.
Great stuff. And finally, Carlo, let's have your prediction for the weekend.
A score draw. I think both teams will score. Listen, I'd love to see Barnsley win. I would. I wonder it was a very high energy 96 minutes for Barnsley on Tuesday. Listen, the professional sports, they're athletes, and I'm sure they will have recovered, but you then have to do it all again. And there were a few substitutions, no injuries for as far as I know, just because absolutely just completely empty. So don't lose. And, we always have to then keep an eye on the teams above us. But as long as we don't lose at home, so I'll push the boat out and I'll go for another 2-2 stalemate at Oakwell on Saturday.
Okay, I think there'll be a lot, like I said earlier, a lot of people that'll take that. I'm going to go 1-1. I think we've got 4 clean sheets on the bounce. I think 5 is probably pushing it a little bit too much, but Lucas Jensen's been fantastic for us this season, and I think that's testament to him more than anything else. But I think I think I would definitely take a point on Saturday, and I'd be delighted with a 1-1 draw. So. There we go. Thanks for joining me, Carlo. Really, really appreciate it, mate. Floor's yours for 20, 30 seconds if you want to, give yourself a bit of a plug and let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, it's Barnsley FC's longest running podcast, Reds Report _ think the Grand Tour or think Top Gear Barnsley FC. Even away fans can have a little giggle. So, check it out if you're on that bus ready for the 2-2 draw at Oakwell on Saturday. And even if you don't, a safe journey up, down, and enjoy your pint in the East End.
Beautiful stuff. Thank you ever so much for joining me, mate. Really appreciate it. And of course, as always, up the Imps.